Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I feel like I need to address a few things in this game. I have the footage here. I did not want to make a formal video on this. This was not something I thought was going to be necessary because Ratchet and Clank is still an overall good game. It's actually still a game that I would recommend people playing. However, I remember there was always that talk about is something worth $70, blah, blah, blah. We didn't heard it so many times already. And then like the value, is it subjective? Yes, it's subjective. And it depends on what you call quality. I have to question the quality of this game a little bit. The footage that you're seeing is pretty much straightforward footage. This is at the very beginning of the game. We did see a glitch, but I think it's going to be before this clip. So if you want to see the glitch, you have to watch the beginning of the actual podcast itself. But the game had these bugs that was just so random and so weird. And I got to tell you, the time of recording this, it is September 2022. I was playing this the very last few days of August 2022 for the first time until the first day of September, right? And I beat the game 100%ed the trophy list and everything, and a tiniest little bit of new game plus to do so as well. So I say that with a small disclaimer, just saying, yes, I've played through the whole thing and I know the ending and everything. But my whole thing is just that my whole thing is just that the game is one of those titles that has to be held to a higher standard because of what it's associated with, because of the people that made it, right? The games that's next to it that's been made right along next to it. Spider-Man, for example, right? And so it's charged as one of the games that came out where you cannot play it on PC yet. I don't even know if they'll ever put this one on PC because it will undermine their whole marketing where they were saying you need the PS5 for this, the whole SSD thing because of the fast loading because of rifts. So this is the PlayStation next gen title, you know. Maybe you can count Returnal as well. And so you can't really, this can't be the next gen title to start the generation and it be that buggy. Like, it was really buggy for me. And there were moments where certain things was just like I had an issue with this like trophy. Like, there were trophies that just wouldn't load for me, and I had to do all these things to get this trophy, and I'll talk about it in a second. But like,
yikes.
Is the problem with me was that this game lacked a little bit of quality control over it. Like, I really felt like it should not have been in the state that it was in, being that I'm playing it a year later, because this came out June 2021, right? Isn't that when it came out? And I think it was even nominated for Game of the Year too, next to a bunch of other games, and then it lost to It Takes Two, right? Now, don't get me wrong, when this is working, it is still a cool game. I think they rely way too much on the cutscenes. I mean, you kind of see in the cutscene now, I think. But it was just like littered with cutscenes in this whole game. It was to the point where you would play maybe 5 to 10 minutes and then boom, you're right back in the cutscene. And it was like, some of the cutscenes was cool. It's very, very Disney-ish in a way. Like, if the game really feels like it could have came from a Pixar movie, right? It's not really for me overall. It's more for a kid, in my opinion. But it doesn't take away from. Yeah, it's not a bad thing though. But I did have a few issues with, like, I wanted to just play, but it just kept going back to the cutscenes. And the only time I was having more prolonged game sessions where I'm really just playing the game was when I was actually going for trophies. Like there were moments where I would ignore the story to go for trophies, but if I was in the story, um, you play for 10 minutes, then you're back in a cutscene. It's like 10 minutes cutscene, 10 minutes cutscene, 10 minutes cutscene. Sometimes it was like 5 minutes and then cutscene, and the cutscenes would be like really long. Like even right now, it's still all cutscene. It's still all cutscene. I think it's finally back in the game, right? So like you could watch this sequence right here. So we're back in the game, and like as you can see, I'm doing the rails thing. By the time I get to the end of this rails, it's back to the cutscene, as you can see.
Yeah.
And so the game is like that a lot. Like it's a lot. And it's cool in some instances. I can't say it. I can't say that word. Can I?
Instances.
Instances. I can't say it.
You said it.
But yeah, I have minor gripes over that because I just felt like it was starting to take away from the gameplay experience. My biggest gripes though is literally the bugs, cause I'm like, yo, this is the flagship title. Everything else is like upgraded PS4 titles, you know, and then there's like
Yeah.
some titles that's not even first party. It's just like they're deals that they've made with other companies. But then there was like, this is the one that was supposed to launch the next gen experience, and then I was running into game breaking bugs where one of them was in a boss fight where the boss simply just stopped moving and he just like froze, and I could shoot at him or I could stand there, nothing was happening. Like the world kind of was still moving, but he wasn't moving. And so then I had to restart the game basically from the last checkpoint, and that kind of like took me out of it a little bit. And then I remember the one time where I think I showed you some other footage too, from my cell phone, where this was later on in the game, so light spoilers. There's somebody you have to just save from like this octopus kind of thing that's trying to grab him, and he's being like hung from like hung in like right in front of the octopus, and this thing is like trying to like grab at him or whatever, and he can't quite grab him, and you got to blow through all of these enemies in order to like get to the point where you can cut him down basically, right? But
Okay.
the enemies spawned inside of this tower sort of instead of next to you, and then you could see that they were shooting projectiles through the tower, almost like if the tower was like had a magical gun, and you can't really shoot them because they're in the tower or whatever, so you were never able to shoot them, and you would just, that was it, you had to stop and restart the game because they didn't spawn down. Now I will admit that once you restart it, like it does sort of correct itself eventually and everything, so then I was able to beat that part. But it was just like, that was like immersion breaking experiences, you know. And
Right.
so I almost said Crash, Ratchet and Clank, I just had to question the quality of this because it was supposed to be one of those better than everything exclusives. And I remember like the console war arguments around this game in 2021 where we were just holding it to such a high standard. And I'm like, this is the game that should have been patched to an extent, right? It should have been patched. And I got to get to that as well, because I don't want to harp on the day one version of the game too much, because I did have to reinstall it because there's a point in the game also, light spoilers here, but I don't know if you played all the way through this yet, but maybe you might be.
Well, I haven't even started it, but
Yeah,
I
you
don't
might.
spoil it.
Well, you might want to be aware of this because apparently, so there are crystals in this game that you would hit, like big long crystals, and when you hit it, it will like take you into the other dimension or whatever, right? Similar to the whole rifts thing, right? There's a board in this game where you're not aware of it, but if you did not hit every crystal before it triggers a certain cutscene, you will never
Uh,
get a certain trophy, right? And you can never go
uh,
back. You have to actually restart the entire game. And
yeah, there's games like.
I had found this out later, right? And I was like,
Uh,
there's no way I have to restart this, like, in order to get this trophy or keep going along. It's not like deep in the game, it's like right in the middle somewhere. So you would have
right.
to go through a whole lot more progress just to get to that point. And so
Yeah.
when looking around, I heard that if you had the patched version of the game, you can't go back into a certain area. But if you didn't have the patched version, there was a way you can glitch over there by doing a sequence of like some jumps, just doing like some basic platforming that you might have learned from doing like Mario games, right? And
Oh,
so,
okay.
um, obviously, I first started the game with it being the latest patch, right? So
Hmm.
I didn't have access to do this. So what I had to do was literally uninstall the game and reinstall it without the patch just to get into a certain area so that I could hit all of those crystals. And that's somewhat of a hassle, but I chose to do that than to try to go through the game a second time over as like new game plus or whatever just to get that. Because here's the thing: what if I had missed it second time around? Like
Hmm.
then you got to do it again. Because it's like once you
Yep.
hit a certain cutscene by accident or something, it's like that was it. That literally was it.
Manually save because that would be the other option is to save right before it and then just reload that.
Yeah, from what I saw, I don't think you can like make copies of your save though. You can
Oh, that's
only
unfortunate.
you can only have like that one save file in that one spot. But it did make a like when you do like a new game plus, it will automatically do a save in a second slot from what I saw.
Okay.
So that's how they did it, but I don't think you're in control of that. I could be wrong, but that was
God.
from what I saw. And so I got to the point where I uninstalled it and reinstalled the first version. And boy, was this game in such a rough shape. The first version was way worse. I don't want to harp on
Ooh.
it too much because I only stayed in that version long enough to get the trophy and then I switched back. But boy, was it
Okay.
worse. Because, like, this footage that you're seeing, the game is in performance RT mode, right? That's the middle mode for like having like the frame rates with a little bit of ray tracing. The first version of this game didn't have that, so it defaulted to performance mode, which was like pure
Mm.
1080p 60 frames. It actually looked a lot worse, but it also played worse because then it was like dipping frame rate. It was dipping hard. I was like, yo, this is the state it was in when it first launched. It's like I don't know for a fact or not if it had a day one patch, because it was me installing the disc version basically, because I didn't go off the a day one patch because that was
Okay.
the only way I can get to the other area. And so with it like that, it was dipping frame rates. It crashed to the what do you call it? The desk, not desktop. It crashed to the main menu screen or something. Um,
Oh,
what's that crash that they do where like, do you want to send this report? It crashed to that screen.
yeah. The basically the blue screen. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
it crashed to that. It was just running like crazy. I remember like you see how like boards come to you and then like go off into another area. Like one of them was like semi crashing into something and it was just making a loud noise for a second. It was just like dun, 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 dun. I was like, it was glitching. I was like, what the heck happened? And
Mm.
so it was just in a rough state. But I
Yeah.
don't want to judge it too hard on that state because I was only in there for like the one trophy. So when I finally was able to get to the other area, I figured out how to hit all of the crystals that I needed to hit. Once I hit it, I got what I needed, and then I reinstalled the patch, and it was back to looking the way it looks now. You know, it was just I didn't like that was a hassle that I had to go through just to do that.
Yeah.
And you would have the alternative would have been you need to go through the game a whole nother time when it was never advertised that way through the trophy or its hints. So I didn't.
You got it. First time.
Yeah. So that's not too big of a gripe for me as much as it is just the bugs in general. It was just bugs, and it was like weird bugs that would happen every now and then, but they would come up in key moments. Like here, this footage is really early in the game. I didn't have that much problem early on. It was just later on. It was just like little things. If you're somebody who switches weapons very, very fast, and you like let's say you hit them with one weapon and you immediately is back in the weapon wheel switching to something else, it's possible that could trigger a glitch and trigger people to just all of a sudden be unresponsive. There were moments where guns didn't switch quicker, I guess as quickly or whatever, and then I wasn't on the gun that I wanted to be on, and then it would act like if it was jammed, and it would show I have bullets and everything, and it just wouldn't shoot. And then I would have to like create distance and then like try to go back in the weapon wheel again until it finally resets, and then I could shoot the weapon again, despite having bullets. You know.
Yikes.
So it has that type of thing as well. I did play the game. I started off on normal. I did a little bit of New Game Plus in hard. The difficulty is not really that bad of a game. It's not difficult really. I mean, it's still like a kid's game, so it's not really difficult. It just had bugs, and to me, it was just more disappointing. Like more, I don't really want to bash it. I think that it's still worth playing. I will say this is a definite wait for a sale, trade with a friend kind of thing. I don't think this is worth more than $30, to be honest. That's the highest I can go. It's $30. Okay. But I think that's reasonable for a lot of people anyway. I think it is still in a 60, 70, I think it's 70 retail, and then you might be able to find it certain places at like as low as 50. But that's as low as it goes. But yeah, this is definitely worth this is worth like 30 though. Story is still okay. I will admit, once you get through this story, I mean there's no spoilers here, but if anybody here watched Marvel Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, mainly Infinity War, this kind of ripped that off. It ripped it off a little bit. Yeah. So I gotta notice that right away. It's still fun and they did their own thing, but there's a lot of things because, like, for example, the rifts and everything is almost the same as if you use the Space Stone. Remember how Thanos used to go through, like he would travel through with the Space Stone and everything would be kind of purple? Like, that's what you see here, but instead of it being the stone, it's the purple gun that you just saw the bad guy with. I forgot his name. And so he was the one who was traveling back and forth, and what they do for you is they allow you to teleport to different areas on the stage, and you'll grab the other one. Right.
Right.
So that was a thing. The game is still overall a good game. I will still recommend it to every kid for sure. It's definitely a game that is like, you know how you have that one game, like we just talked about, what's the game? Oh no, we said what's the one that lives rent free in your head. There's another question I think that's going forward where we say like, what game sold it for you basically, or what was the ideal game?
Really feel like
yeah, I could see this being that for a kid. Like if you're a kid and a PS5 is like your first system, like PS4 and everything before that is kind of old to you technically, like this is the game for you. if you are
Okay.
a veteran PlayStation person and you didn't went through like M-rated games, a lot of shooters, a lot of like it's this kind of ain't for you. It's not really. It's just another game that you would play real quick, but I don't think you're gonna get the same experience as what you would get if you were a first time kid. You know, but it
Okay.
is still a cool story. They definitely still do the over the top cinematic thing. They make it seem like a movie in a way. It's very much like a
Okay.
movie. Like you could just watch this almost, and you'll play little
Hmm.
things here and there, and then it's back to a cutscene. All I would say, I was just disappointed with all of the bugs throughout it. It happens every now and then. It's not to the point where it's like cyberpunk, but it is
Okay.
some game breaking things there. So you just have to restart, you know. And then there's the
Hmm.
trophy thing. There's one trophy in particular that I need to address, and then we can move on from Ratchet and Clank.
All right.
It's called return policy. So this is a trophy where you use a gun that I believe was called a void reactor, and it's a later on in weapon. Like you have to get it to its maxed out level, and what
Okay.
happens is in its reactor form. Um, Before I say that, this is one of the the bosses that bugged out on me, but it bugged out on me on New Game Plus. I think here it was okay. Here it was okay, but that footage that I showed you like earlier in the week, that was New Game Plus on hard. This is on normal, and I actually got through it without the bug. But
Well, another little complaint.
mhm,
This is a straight up boss fight in the first game,
yeah,
and the one right before this, like in the Ratchet and Clank PS4.
uh huh,
This is one of the boss fights where you have the robot standing there shooting the laser beam, and you have to flip over it and then shoot at him. This is a direct boss fight from the
uh,
PS4 game.
well, I'll admit to you, they do this boss fight a lot in this game, actually.
Hmm.
So I didn't know. So for more context, I actually didn't play the PS4 version yet. I do want to play it, and I do own it, and I will probably play it because I played this game, and I would like to see what the experience is to play a Ratchet and Clank that's more bug free, that's still more modern. Now, your
Yeah,
experience with the PS4 game, you didn't have that many bugs or game breaking bugs, right?
I didn't have any
Okay.
bugs at all. Went through the whole thing. Yep, no bugs.
Okay. Well, that's good. So I'll probably get to that one around Christmas because I can imagine it won't take that long to play that compared to
Nah.
what this is. Because this took me 4 days to get through with doing all the trophies and stuff. Some of it was a little bit more tedious because I didn't know any better. Like, I didn't know about the trophy bug until I looked it up because I was like, I'm clearly doing this correctly. And so that's also the return policy trophy that I wanted to address. The return policy trophy, you are going to go online. If you can't get it right away, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go online and you're going to see a whole bunch of videos where people are telling you to go to the challenge arena and use the void reactor there. I can tell you, you do not want to do that. You will sit there in there for hours and nothing will happen. It will not trigger the trophy. You will do exactly what you're supposed to do. It will not trigger it. And I didn't
Yikes.
know what was happening and why it was not working. And I was looking at videos that where everybody was talking about that, and everyone said this is what you should do, this is what you're supposed to do. And I looked at the timing of them and they were all done in 2021. And so in my head I was thinking this might be another situation where I would have to like reinstall the old version. I was like, there's no way I want to reinstall the old version for a second trophy. And so
Yeah.
I was looking into the comment section to say, like, why is it not loading? I did exactly what the trophy said to do. And someone in the comment section, I don't have their name. It was just a random person, right? But he's basically said you do not want to go to the challenge area because at that point you're going to be too powerful, how whatever that means, and it's just not going to work there. And so he mentioned to go to an area that's called Sargasso. So for anybody who actually is playing and they run into that situation, you want to go to Sargasso, the board, and then you want to go to the bottom of the map where you will find a vendor, right? There's going to be a vendor at the bottom of the map. So check on your map, and over in that area, you want to use the void reactor on the mosquitoes in that area that's actually throwing venom at you or spitting venom at you, right?
Okay.
The reason I say this is because in the comment that I saw that talked about this, they said you will be in the challenge map for hours not knowing what's going on. If you go over there, you'll get it in less than 5 minutes. I went over there, I got it less than 5 minutes. It triggered the trophy, it triggered the platinum, and I was done. Literally.
Okay.
And so just remember, do not go to the challenge area. Go to Sargasso and go to the bottom of the map and find the vendor. When you find the vendor, there should be mosquitoes around the corner of that area on the map. For everybody who's listening to this, and you still do, so when they say max out your void reactor, you still kind of want to max it out. Just by using the weapon and paying for the upgrades with in-game purchases, you can max it out and then go to that area. You will get that trophy 9 times out of 10 for a lot of people. That was the trophy that kept them from getting the platinum. If you go to the trophy list, it says it's a bronze trophy, but it's literally only 16% of the people as of this recording that got that trophy, even though it was bronze. And then you'll see the platinum, it also says it's 16%, because that's the one trophy that kept people from getting the platinum. And I almost stopped, because you remember those other screenshots? I almost stopped before doing it. And then I just so happened to say, you know what, let me look in the comment sections and see what people are saying. And I'll go to the most recent ones to see if there was anything that came out. And I saw that. And to this day, I actually think no one says this in video format. So it's not much footage that you really need to show. It will be some spoilers. But all you need to go, because I'm going to put in the description, I'm going to put in the title, go to Sargasso and do the void reactor over there. You will get the trophy in 5 minutes. And then you'll probably get your platinum, because that was probably the only thing holding you back. Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, I think that's all I really need to say. The trophy thing is the most important for anybody who is playing. For everybody else who hasn't gotten it yet, still play the game. It's still worth playing. But it's worth waiting for a sale, because it still has issues that it needs to be ironed out. And I don't know if it's really being talked about. So it's unfortunate, because I'm still a fan. I am a fan of Ratchet and Clank. I do want to see another game for Ratchet and Clank. It's just another one of those situations where it needs to be, a quality made game at day one. It just needs to be. I shouldn't have to reinstall old versions to do certain things. And yeah, that was for the trophies, but I also shouldn't have to restart. I had to restart. I think I had to restart 4 or 5 times because of game breaking bugs, if I remember correctly.
That is the unacceptable in my mind.
Yeah. If you're a veteran gamer, the cutscenes might annoy you a little bit, because I think the game is like half and half. It's like 50% game, 50% cutscenes. Like, I kid you not. Like, if you're just following the story and you don't do no trophy anything, it's like half and half. It's like literally right in the middle. It's still a cool story, but yeah. So yeah, that's all I got to say on Ratchet. Yeah.